What is up, everyone? Because of the nerf to Sky Attack, a lot of the most oppressive flying types like Skarmory, Altaria and Noctowl have lost a lot of relevance. And this has allowed grass types like Tropius, Venusaur and Superior to really shine in the current Open Great League meta. So today I want to show you a squad with my favorite grass type to run, Shadow Venusaur, because it just hits so incredibly hard. I'll be pairing it with a backline of Dugong and Lickitung to cover for Venusaur's weaknesses to flying and fire types. We're just gonna head right into these battles, starting with a Carbink lead, which my opponent then responded to with a Trevenant switch in, as Venusaur of course does beat Carbink. Though Carbink is actually one of those matchups where you really don't like Shadow Venusaur as much as like a regular Venusaur or Superior, which are of course tankier. Because if my opponent now decides to double shoot their Carbink versus my Venusaur, they can actually bring it deep into the red, which is not ideal, but Venusaur does generally still win this. Where I really like Shadow Venusaur though is in this Metacham matchup. After 12 Vine Whips, a Frenzy Plant is gonna just destroy it. It does so much. My opponent is gonna shoot his first Frenzy up though. And I'm gonna, of course, shield whatever move this Metacham has to throw. Ice Punch would knock out from his range, so definitely worth a shield. And now I'm gonna CMP tie on the next Ice Punch. For each Ice Punch, it's gonna be 6 counters, by the way, for the first 3 Ice Punches. And then the 4th Ice Punch is gonna be 5 counters, but we're not gonna reach that point. I just gotta throw 6 more Vine Waves here to CMP on the 3rd Ice Punch now, and I should be looking good. I'm a bit worried though, I won't be able to reach a Frenzy versus the Carbink at this point, because Rock Throws will do some damage, but I'm just gonna stay in and see how much one does, and if it does too much, I'm gonna switch out, but it looks like I will reach it, and this Frenzy should just absolutely obliterate this Carbink. It does. Bye-bye. Okay, next game, Gligar lead. Not ideal. Gligar being one of the main flyers in this meta, though, is super good for grass types. Like previously, we had a lot of Noctowls, we had a lot of Altarias, and grass types have no play against it. But the current flyers, which are mainly just Gligar, Pelipper, Solmantine, like grass is neutral against. So a Pokemon like Venusaur or other grasses have a lot of play against them. They're like the hardest flying type to beat is probably like Mandibuzz, but I haven't seen too many of them. Mandibuzz, by the way, would be a bit of a core breaker for this Venusaur Lickitung core, but as I said, I haven't seen too many of them. Actually, only one in these sets, which this battle will come later. They actually managed to beat that lead, so it is definitely still doable. Anyway, my opponent swapped into their own Lickitung after dipping with their Gligar, and this is definitely not ideal, as Lickitung will come out of this matchup with enough health to reach a Body Slam versus my Venusaur, and Venusaur is very squishy, so yeah, that's definitely not great. But I think I will be able to survive one at least and then farm down. I just really hope they don't get to a second. If they don't get to a second, I'm actually in a decent spot, as I will be able to force a shield off the Gligar. But unfortunately, the Lickitung reaches another move and I'm forced to shield this up with Venusaur. The optimal play there would be to catch that Body Slam on Dugong, probably. But unfortunately, I didn't keep good enough track of the licks to catch that 3rd Body Slam. I was really hoping I could just farm down. Anyway, I still have 2 Frenzies here. I throw one into the Gligar, I let it go, and then I snipe with an Ice Shard of from the Dugong. Out comes Lantern now. This is not ideal. It's 8 sparks for the first Thunderbolt, so they are there right now. I throw Juron right before it. They shielded up, unfortunately. I was considering going for an Icy Wind bait there, but I figured they weren't going to shield the first one, maybe, as they really just rather save the shields for a Frenzy of a Venusaur. I really have to use a shield now, though, as I don't think I reached 2 Frenzies on my Venusaur before they spark me down. Go for the Juron. My opponent would be at the Thunderbolt right now, but they don't throw it, because they feel like they need energy to outpace my Venusaur. But that allows me to take a shield now, switch to the Venusaur, throw the Frenzy, and this will knock out the Lantern. I think a bit of a misplay by my opponent, but they might have just not been aware of how quickly Dugong gets to the Icy Winds and Jurons, and I think that's just one of the advantages of running a Pokemon that you don't see as often currently. Anyway, Metacham lead, like I said earlier, 12 Vine Whips before the Frenzy Plant knocks out. So, in my opinion, there's no point in throwing the Frenzy Plant until you've thrown those 12 Vine Whips, so you're double Frenzy. So I don't throw immediately, I wait, and they switch in Lickitung now, and once Lickitung comes out, I'm just gonna farm up to double Frenzy before throwing the first, and then I switch in my own Lickitung. Generally, whenever you see Lickitung come in to your Venusaur, you're gonna want to chip it with your Venusaur, and then switch into your own Lickitung, take it out with a Body Slam, and then just spam Body Slams or whatever comes in next. You should come out of this with a lot of health. I think I'm just gonna throw one Body Slam and then attempt a Lick Down. Body Slam does like a little more than 15%, maybe like 17. So my opponent is just barely in the red, which means my Body Slam wouldn't have knocked out yet. So I didn't throw it. Out comes Alolan Sandslash now. I really wish I threw it now though, because yeah, it does less hair than it would have. Actually, I think it does about the same hairs against Lickitung, but now, because the Lickitung is still at like 20%, it will be able to get to a move versus my Venusaur. Whereas if I throw a Body Slam into the Lickitung before, I would have been able to Vine Whip it down. So it's still a problem. This A-Slash also a problem with a shield up. I'm going to go for the Icy Wind here. Really hope to get a shield. This might have been a bit of a misplay, because I feel like my opponent could also just no-shield this and then farm me down with Metacham, and then have Ice Punches loaded for Venusaur. So that could have been a play, but luckily they shield that. Now, because of the Icy Wind, I can survive this next drill run and get to a move of my own. But so I had to switch. Just switch out the Metacham there to farm me down. Not ideal, so now I have a little bit of energy lead. Means they will get to an Ice Punch before I reach Double Frenzy. I can reach one here though, and I've already done enough fast move damage to where the Frenzy Plant likely knocks out, so my opponent shields it up. Again, 6, 6, 6, 6, 6, 6, 6, 5 for the Ice Punches, so I can throw 6 more Vine Whips here to CMP tile on the next Ice Punch. This will knock out the Metacham. Now I'm 1 away from the next Frenzy to throw the Lickitung or the Alolan Sandslash. I didn't think I care what I throw it into, honestly, because both Pokemon are like low enough HP to where one of my Pokemon could easily take him out. So even if this was Lickitung, I would have thrown it into it, because then my own Lickitung would be able to take care of the Sandslash. But it was a Sandslash, so a Frenzy. Out comes Lickitung. Going to my own Body Slam. This knocks him out, and it's a GG. All right. Chesnaught lead. Very good. They bring out Frostlass. I bring in Lickitung, and I realize instantly that this game will probably not go my way. This is a team that was pretty common like 2 seasons ago, and maybe even last season. Chesnaught, Frostlass, Charizard. And Charizard is a big problem for this team if I lose switch advantage, because I get it on Venusaur then, or if I go a shield down, because a Charizard or shield up is fine versus Dugong. And since I answered Frostlass with Lickitung, they will be able to get the shield there, because Frostlass wins the one shield there. So I was forced to go a shield down in order to maintain switch, but now I think I'm going to be in big trouble versus the Charizard. Still, I don't think it's quite over. I'm going to hit another Body Slam versus this Chesnaught. Don't really want to switch into Venusaur right now, of course, because then I'm just going to get a farm down by the Charizard I'm expecting. I was considering going in Dugong straight away, but I figured it's too risky, so going Venusaur, don't throw a move, and then instantly switch into Dugong once I see the Charizard come out. Just throw for the Icy Wind straight away. They snuck a free wing attack in because of that, which is not great. Now, I felt like I had to make a call. I was thinking they might just Dragon Claw bait me here, but no. They go for the Blast Burn. It does a ton of damage, and now the game is yeah, basically over. I can't shield this, because if I shield this, they just get to a move first my Venusaur after farming me down, and if I don't shield it, I mean, they just farm down my Venusaur, so I concede the match. I think there was a way of winning that, by the way. Next time I see a Chesnaught lead, and they're switching Frostlass, I'm going to stay in with Venusaur, throw a Frenzy onto the Frostlass before dipping into Lickitung. I think if I do that and get a shield advantage that way, I have a win con there. Because then Dugong with the shield advantage in the back can probably take out both Chesnaught and Charizard. Fortunately, I did actually see that line again, but I wasn't able to play it out that way because I didn't remember. But next time I see that line, I'm going to try that out and I should be able to win. I actually managed to beat the second Chesnaught lead I saw, because somehow my Lickitung survived the second Avalanche, which normally doesn't happen. But yeah, anyway, we're in the next match, which was Lickitung lead. And this is fine for Venusaur, but I generally do want to switch out. So after throwing 2 Frenzies, taking a shield, and doing a lot of damage, I switch into my Lickitung, hoping to absorb some damage, but my opponent did not throw yet. Instead, they bring out the Metacham, which is super fine, as Dugong now like avoids the Metacham, which is great. Lickitung really isn't the worst here. Even if they have Dynamic Punch, you can do a lot of damage. This one just has Psychic, which means I even win this matchup. Yeah, Lickitung is crazy in this current meta. If you don't have a Lickitung, I'm sorry. There isn't like a great replacement for it. In this team, I would recommend Sableye though. I think Sableye instead of Lickitung works fine in this team. Or Umbreon. Umbreon would also be really good. I think that's probably the closest replacement. But the thing I like about Lickitung is that it has such a decent Metacham matchup. I think Umbreon has that like as well, kind of. but not as good as Lickitung. Definitely. But Umbreon would definitely work very fine. It's also a better answer to opposing Lickitungs. So that would be really nice for those Lickitung switch-ins. Alright, there was a Mantine in the back, which is very good for Dugong, by the way. That had to switch into Lickitung after taking the Icy Wind. I catch the Power Up on my Venusaur. Now I'm just going to farm down this Lickitung, have a Frenzy loaded for the Mantine. The note's over, so I concede the match. GG. Okay, Deoxys, lead. This is kind of awkward, because a Psycho Boost will do a ton. So I'm going to have to shield it. And now I'm a shield down, which is not ideal. But luckily, generally, most Deoxys teams are kind of weak to Venusaur in the back. This one actually has Mandibuzz, so generally, Lickitung switches in there. You want to Frenzy it before dipping out into Lickitung. But this time, they actually have Mandibuzz, which is really good for my Dugong. So it's going to Icy Wind it once. And after this, I'm going to try to farm it down. I'm going to let this go. And I'm going to farm this down. The only problem here is if the Deoxys comes in and farms down my Dugong, that could be very troublesome. Very troublesome. I mean, I could catch the energy or soak the energy on Lickitung at that point, which is fine. But then I'm just going to be stuck with like a very low health Lickitung and a Venusaur down a shield. So it's not ideal at all. Luckily, the Deoxys wouldn't get that much energy. But I actually decided to switch out. Seeing as I have two decent Deoxys answers in Venusaur and Lickitung, I'd rather save the energy on my Dugong. Seeing as they're likely weak to Venusaur in the back because they stayed in with Deoxys. Actually ends up being Steelix though, so they're not super weak. But this Frenzy would do a ton. So I definitely got to shield this. And I would reach another Frenzy if I shield this. So I do shield this up. After the buff, it would still do a ton. So I felt it was worth shielding this. If my Dugong was healthier, I would actually no-shield that, because then I could get off my two Durans. But I think I'm in one Dragon Tail range with my Dugong, so I decide to not let my Venusaur go. I go in Licky now. I honestly probably should have gone in Dugong, because I do win CMP. But at the time, I wasn't sure, so I bring in Lickitung instead to go for the farm down here. But should be very fine too. Deoxys is quite low. 2 moves on Dugong, though I will probably only get one of them off. That's still fine. Gonna go for the body slam here. I know it's debuffed, but that's fine with me at this point. I throw the body slam, I switch in Dugong to clear my debuff and also debuff the Deoxys. And because of this Icy Wind debuff, the counter might not even knock me out. And I might even get to another one. And I do. I barely survive because of the Icy Wind debuff. And this will knock out the Deoxys. A GG to this opponent. Alright, what do we have in the next? Oh, actually we found on Steelix. Yes, that's it. Okay. Ooh, yeah, this is awful. This is really bad, actually. This is really, really bad. I have a Greedent for my Lickitung. Generally, it's also Metacham in the back of Dragonite leads, which would be awful for my Dugong. But it could also be Registeel. If it's Registeel, I think I have a chance here. As Dugong, if I can somehow get a shield advantage, actually does fine versus Registeel. So the thing I'm hoping to do here is lose this matchup with Lickitung versus Greedent, which shouldn't be that hard, as Greedent kind of owns Lickitung. Farm the Greedent down with Venusaur, sludge the Dragonite, hope they use a shield, and then a shield up Dugong sweep. That is the idea right now. So let's hope we can execute. If it's Metacham, I just straight up lose though. There's no win con there. We're gonna go for another body slam on this Greedent. Reach him quite low, into nice farm down range for Venusaur. Gonna take a body slam here. And they've gotta throw their next pretty quickly. Otherwise I'm gonna reach another body slam. Do throw it. You know, actually, maybe I could have double shielded and gained switch advantage, but then I don't think I'm in a great spot still, because then I'd be a shield down with Venusaur, or even 2 shields down, which is not ideal. They get off the crunch. I do have a little bit of energy. Hopefully I can outpace to the sludge bomb, but unfortunately they get to the Dragon Claw right before it. Maybe I should have just thrown the Frenzy there and hope they shielded. But now I'm even shields, and versus Registeel in the back. This is not looking too good. Or is it? Dugong actually does have Drillrun here, so this might get close. I go straight for it, because I feel like no shielding is the play for them, as if I Icy Wind, they're kind of in trouble if they shield that. But they do end up shielding my Drillrun, so I really should have Icy Winded. They go for the Zap. I don't get debuffed, which is amazing. Again, I don't throw Icy Wind here, as I feel like a bait is way too obvious. So I throw Drillrun, expecting no shield, but they shield again. And that's just pretty bad for me. If I'd thrown 2 Icy Winds there, I would have been in a pretty nice spot. Pretty nice spot. But now because I didn't get that, I'm looking pretty bad. I even don't get another debuff, which is great. Now I go for the Icy Wind, which you might think I'm crazy for doing that, because I mean, now they have no shields. But the thing is, I need 2 drones to knock out, or an Icy Wind plus a Drillrun. And I'm not going to survive the move if I don't Icy Wind. Because Icy Wind, I now survived the move. But yeah, it's too little too late now. If I had thrown double Icy Wind into the Registeel and then double Drill Run, I think I would have been able to win this game. Because I didn't get the buff by the Registeel. But because they called both my Drill Runs, they were able to defeat me right there. So GG. Okay, Mandibuzz lead. This is pretty awkward. They actually get to Aerial Ace on 4 Snarls, so they could have thrown before my Sludge Bomb, but generally these Mandibuzzes go for good timing. So you just throw your Sludge, and then throw one more Vine Whip, that's optional, and then try to catch the Aerial Ace on Lickitung. My opponent, very patient though, doesn't allow the catch, which is fine. Foul Play still doesn't do that much. Lantern comes in. They've now also used some energy, but they're also at another Aerial Ace, or they are at an Aerial Ace right now. So that's important to keep in mind, to not get sniped by that with Venusaur later. The Lantern is an interesting switch in, as Lickitung does kind of fine here, but I guess they just kind of want to sack it. Lantern is fine in this matchup, so it makes sense. They actually don't throw their move here. They were definitely just at a surf, but I think they were underestimating Lickitung's energy, so don't throw the move. And they also didn't want to get farmed down by Venusaur, I think, because if they were farmed down by Venusaur, the Mandibuzz would still be in trouble. To bring out Deoxys now, this is still not great for my Venusaur, as a Psycho Boost basically knocks out. I am again afraid of a Mandibuzz snipe with an Aerial Ace, so once it comes in, I instantly switch into Dugong. So this is, at this point, looking kind of fine. This Mandibuzz does have a good chunk of energy, and the problem here is, if the Deoxys farms down my Dugong, they can just triple Psycho Boost my Venusaur, which isn't great. These foul plays are adding up. They're gonna get to another one in a second. I think I should be able to farm this down before they get to the next though, but I might get too low health to do anything versus Deoxys with my Dugong. On the other hand, the Deoxys also won't get too much farm. Now, I could go for Icy Wind here, but I reckon that even if I go for double Icy Wind, the Psycho Boost will do too much first by Venusaur. So I go for double Drill Run, because they do slightly more damage than Icy Wind does. And I bring in Venusaur. Now, this is their 10th counter they just threw, so a double Psycho Boost. I'm going to shoot this up, and I'm going to throw my Frenzy Plant. I know they have 2 shields, so it doesn't make any sense, but throwing this Frenzy Plant on the CMP tie allows me to do 1 damage, because shield moves to 1 HP. For some reason, they no-shield that, but I think it was pretty much over anyway, because my Dugong would have been able to survive 1 counter, and deal the finishing blow with an Ice Shard. So that was over. Next match, we see a Shadow Gligar on the lead, which is obviously very bad for Venusaur, so I just instantly switch into my Lickitung. They're going to stay in here, throw an Aerial Ace, which I take, and then switch into their Lickitung. This is a mirror matchup. You'll see a ton if you're running Lickitung safe switch, as people just love to chip and dip into their own Lickitung to secure switch advantage here. This is kind of fine with me though, as if I can body slam this opposing Lickitung into a range where I can farm now with Venusaur of a Frenzy loaded for the Gligar, I'm actually looking pretty decent here. I'll throw another body slam here. Since they switched after doing 6 wing attacks though, I farm it to exactly a body slam. It actually means we're going to CMP tile on each of these moves basically, and my Lickitung is extremely high ranked. And that means I'm going to lose CMP right here. And I lose out on doing some crucial body slam damage here. Because at this point, I cannot farm down his Lickitung before they get to a body slam, which is unfortunate. But they actually end up switching out into Gligar, which is crazy. Now I can get my Dugong aligned to their Gligar. Shoot up the dig, as it will do a lot of damage. Was the dig. Out comes another move. This is just an Aerial Ace, which I can take on Dugong pretty easily. And now it's just going to be a matter of what's in the back. The Lickitung's energy dry and basically gets knocked out by an Icy Wind. Out comes Sableye. This looks pretty doable right now, as I already have almost 2 moves on Dugong. One of them will do a decent chunk of damage here and drop the attack, and the next one should take a shield, because if it don't shield, I'm just going to end up fast moving them down. Takes the shield from the Sableye. Going to stay in with Dugong at this point. I want to get to another move. They kind of need to hit a return. They catch the move. Actually, I saw the Lickitung come in and still threw it because I thought this was necessary. I just didn't want to take a Frenzy or a Body Slam on my Venusaur, so undercharge. Get a very nice farmer with my Venusaur. Throw the Frenzy, and now the Sableye is actually already at 2 foul plays, so I can't really shield a move here, as they would just get to another one if I shield this. And this point it's all up to Dugong. I have to get to a move, but I realize I misplayed. What I really should have done there is not thrown the Icy Wind in the Lickitung, just bring in Venusaur there, because I can take a Body Slam. I can easily take a Body Slam and the Licks there and fully Vine Whip down, and then I have 2 Frenzies loaded to throw to, at the Sableye, and I would just win the game. Because I threw an Icy Wind into the Lickitung, I lose. So, well played by my opponent there with that catch. GG's, that was it for today. As you could see, this team functioned like extremely well. Definitely one I could recommend. So I hope you give it a go and let me know how it goes in the comments down below. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Good luck with your battles, trainers.